Blitz, Bama, Blitz, baby. Blitz, Bama, Blitz, baby. That's right. Yeah, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the Tide, okay? Because guess what? We don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Nothing but the Tide. Roll Tide, okay? We got a lot to talk about in this episode. But we're going to talk about college football first. Then we get into the meat and potatoes and the biscuits and whatnot of NFL football, okay? The Tide continues to roll on, okay? Colorado just stomps. Stampede stomps UFC, okay? They didn't just go just to Florida just to go to Disneyland. No. They went there with a mission. They went there with a goal. They went there to seek and destroy and to stomp them out. And then that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. As well as Kevin O'Connell has spoken out about quarterbacks in the organization. Now, I will say this. It's a very weird time to talk about that. Only because of everything that's transpired with Bryce Young. But we have a lot to talk about with all of that and more, okay? As well as the Vikings possibly having the best offense. Well, not even the best offense. The best team in the league right now. The Eagles, their wings are hurting right now. Their wings are clipped. Okay, they're trying to fly, but they can't fly. They can't do it right now because why? The Buccaneers stomped them, grilled them, sauteed them, rotisserie turned them off. This is going to be a great episode. As well as the Chiefs are hurting. Okay, the Chiefs are hurting. The Chiefs are in a situation. The Chiefs are basically like that little person from SpongeBob where he came out of the we came out of his house. Every morning I break my arms. And every night I break my legs. That's exactly what the Chiefs are going through right now. Jacksonville, there's some trouble in Jacksonville. Man, everything is just happening in Florida. I don't know why. Man, I don't know what it is. A lot of crazy things are happening in Florida. And you know what? I think we do have to talk about the Ravens. I know it's not in my notes, but we do have to talk about the Ravens, okay? All of this and more, okay? On the 36th episode, okay, of the greatest football podcast you can possibly listen to on a week-to-week basis, okay? I am your host, okay? Your chief, head of the table, your chief meteorologist, Bagrodamus, okay? Because why? My predictions, they have come forth and they will continue to come forth because I am Bagrodamus, okay? I'm all these things and more, okay? But the most important title that I am, but wait, I forgot. I'm currently a former GM who currently is not on the team right now. But guess what? Just know I got my draft board ready. I got my draft prospects ready. And we're about to hit the road again. We're going to start in Texas, the great state of Texas, okay? I am all of this and more. But most importantly, I am your host. Your man with the plan, with the predictions and everything and more. Your man, Kale. Let's lock in. I don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, baby. The Tide did its thing on Saturday. Now, I will say this. I definitely thought the game was going to be a whole lot better, but no. No. This was, oh man, everyone was hyping, oh, this is going to be your preview for the playoffs and all this different type of stuff, blah, blah, blah. No, it wasn't. Because if this is the preview of a beatdown, okay? This is the preview of someone getting the brakes beaten down for 4 quarters straight, okay? Nothing but ruthless aggression, okay? Now, let's get into everything, all right? So, Bama and Georgia played on Saturday. I did watch the whole game. It was definitely a really good game. I'm not going to lie. It definitely was a really good game. It was worth watching. But I think what needs to be talked about is the transition that has transpired with Alabama. Now, a lot of times when a team, whatever level that they are, whether it be in college or even in the pros, a lot of times when they transition from a great player or even great coaching, a lot of times there is a struggle, right? And there hasn't really been a struggle so far. It really hasn't. From them to transition from the greatness that is Nick Saban all the way to now Kalen DeBoer, it's been going well. The offense is to me seems like it's more lethal. The defense is doing their thing. All in all, Alabama looks like they still got the juice. Okay, I don't care what anyone says. I know Georgia's been doing their thing. They've been having their time. They've been, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. But guess what? The tide is back. It is back in full effect. Okay, so let's just get into these stat lines and then we will go from there. Okay, so starting to do a little bit of a different format too, breaking everything up by the teams and whatnot. You know what? Let's get into it. All right. So Jalen Milroe, cornerback for Alabama, 27 for 33, 374 yards, 81.8 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a QBR of 98.5. Ryan Williams, the receiver, legend. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to know what it is, better yet, I'll just let you do it yourself. Legend. 6 receptions, 177 yards, 1 touchdown. Okay. Now for Georgia side, Carson Beck, 27 for 50, 439 yards, a 54 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a QBR of 70.1. Trevor Etienne, 12 carries for 55 yards, 4.6 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. Now, when we look at this, right, leading into this, this was definitely the preview of, not only for what the playoffs will look like, but as well as, players that, their draft stock may go up, may go down, even for the Heisman, right? A lot of things were riding on this game, right? Because this game could determine if you were going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick or maybe even a 1st round pick. Not to mention, it would also determine where you lie on the Heisman race. Okay? Because if we can be real here, this I don't think this is going to be, this type of Heisman race where it's going to be a whole bunch of people and whatnot. No. If we're being real here, and this is just my personal opinion, I think there's probably less than 6 or 7 people that are, in my opinion, the clear-cut people that are going to be competing for the Heisman. Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and I forgot his name. Ashton Genty? I don't know how to pronounce your last name. My bad, bro. Those are the people right now, in my mind, that are the clear-cut, competitors for the Heisman. Simply because of, well, you know what? I'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm definitely getting ahead of myself. But when we look at this game definitely showed a lot. That no matter what Georgia does, Alabama still has their number, right? Alabama has been the kryptonite for Kirby Smith for the last few years now, right? And, even now, people would have thought, okay, they got a new head coach, things might be different, their culture might be different, all those different types of things. No, it is still the same way. They are still doing the same things, and it shows. Jalen Milroe probably had one of his best games Saturday night. He was doing it. He looked like Lamar Jackson on Saturday night. I'm talking about he was rushing, making touchdowns. He was throwing. Everything was just connecting. Everything. It was like art. That's the best way to describe it. It was like art. And, when we look at this is a situation where, Jalen Milroe looks more polished. He looks more effective as a passer. He just looks all around like a really good quarterback. Because in my mind, leading up to this game, I felt that Jalen Milroe was probably going to be a late 1st round, maybe an early 2nd round pick. But after Saturday night's game, I would not be surprised if he's drafted a little bit higher. I would not be surprised. Only because he balled out. He did his thing. He did his thing. Not to mention Ryan Williams. Keep your eye out on him. Keep your eye out on Ryan Williams, because Ryan Williams is a beast. A beast of a receiver. A beast. Okay? When he made that one catch and then he juked the two Georgia defenders and then scored a touchdown. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Man, oh man, oh man. Ryan Williams. Keep your eye on Ryan Williams. And mind you, I think he's only 17 or 18 years old. Greatness. Greatness. Now, moving on to Colorado, because I want to dedicate this first part to college football. Colorado. Colorado did their thing. Okay, Colorado stampeded UFC. Okay, they did their thing. They balled out. Okay, and it definitely showed a lot. Shador is looking more comfortable in the pocket. The protection is starting to get better. Everything is just starting to look really good for the offense, and that's great. That is what we have been looking for up until this point, because it started to look a little bit shaky in the earlier parts of the college football season, but now it's starting to look like they've gotten to, they're starting to, figure things out, which is great. It's absolutely great, because, when you look at them on Saturday, they were starting to rely more on the running game. And even when they did, guess what? They were parting the Red Sea. You're talking about huge open lanes for the running back to go through. I'm talking about they are moving people away. Okay? If you want to see a security detail, these are the people that you need, because guess what? They're going to move people out the way. And that's exactly what they did. Now, before we move any further, though, I do think it's time we address something, though, that needs to be talked about, okay? And that's a metric that, I have gotten over, and I have said a few times, and you're probably wondering, what is it? QBR, right? So QBR, okay, is basically, it's a metric, okay, that is based off of play-by-play, such as, down, distance, field position, clock, score, and everything else, right? And so basically it is a metric to determine exactly the performance of a quarterback, right? And basically they have a scale. So the scale is from 0 to 100, okay? 50 is considered average, okay? Anything above 75 is considered, of course, above average, right? And anything below 25 is considered trash, okay? Now, the elite quarterbacks, a lot of them have, their QBRs are mainly in the 80s and 90s and whatnot. So whenever you hear QBR, remember those numbers, okay? That's a junkie nugget for you. So when we look at things, right, and sort of entail that to, back into the conversation with college football, Jalen Milroe, if he was to base everything by his QBR, had an exceptional game, right? Compared to Carson Beck. Carson Beck basically had a somewhat average to slightly above average game. And then when you look at Shador had an above average game, 89.1. And then KJ Jefferson had somewhat of a below average type of game. Now, when we look at things going back to Colorado as well, Shador Sanders basically was 28 for 35, 290 yards, 80 completion percentage, as well as 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, right? Travis Hunter, legend. 9 receptions for 89 yards, 9.9 yards per reception, and a touchdown. Okay, that's for Colorado. Now, for the other side, okay, UCF. So KJ Jefferson was 20 for 35, 284 yards, a 57.1 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and I already said the QBR, but I'll just say it again, 24.9 QBR. And then when you look at RJ Harvey, he was 16 carries for 77 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. His receiving stats, on the other hand, 4 receptions, 92 yards, 23 yards per reception, and 1 touchdown. Now, when we look at this, Colorado was being dominant on all levels of the game. Okay, when we look at it, they were just as dominant on offense as they were on defense, right? And if we're being real here, they're doing their thing. They're doing it. See, this is when you can have celebrities on the sideline and the celebrations in the locker room and those different types of things, right? This is when you can do it because you're winning. But you cannot do it when you're not winning, right? That was my only point that I was trying to put out there when I was sort of not necessarily scalding Colorado, but sort of like talking about that debacle with Colorado. Is it's okay for certain things to happen when you're winning, but when you're not winning, that's when you have to focus, right? And so, this sort of is another sort of, full front moment is this, how can I say this? The race for the Heisman is it's going to be very close. It's going to be very, very, very close because you have not yet. You have Travis Hunter, who is doing something that only Charles Woodson and Dion has been able to do, right? You have Shedeur Sanders, who's balling. You have Jalen Milroe, who's balling. And then you have that running back from Boise State, who's also balling as well. Do you want to know his carry? Do you want to know his stats right now, folks? His stats right now this season, 82 carries for 845 yards, 13 touchdowns, and he averages 10.3 yards a carry. I'm going to say that again a little bit closer into the mic so you can understand what I'm saying. Ashton Gentry, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but just Ashton, Boise State. If you go on ESPN, type in Ashton, he's the first person to pop up, okay? 82 carries for 845 yards, 13 touchdowns, 10.3 yards per carry. Think about that for a second. Now, when we look at the other games, right? Their game on the 28th, 26 carries for 259 yards, 4 touchdowns, 10 yards a carry. When we look at the game that they had on the 21st, 11 carries for 127 yards, 11.5 yards a carry. When we look on the 7th, okay, 25 carries for 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, 7.7 yards a carry, okay? When we look at it, I feel like those are going to be the main people that everyone is going to be focused on for the Heisman. I truly believe that. And I think, for someone like Travis Hunter, I think it's really going to come down between him and Shedeur. I really do. I think whoever has the better performance out of the two, I think will represent, Colorado when it comes to the Heisman. Now, do I think it could be Travis Hunter over Shedeur? I don't know, because again, the Heisman is a little bit tricky because it's an award that, there is just as many quarterbacks as there is running backs in the Heisman, group, collective, whatever you want to call it, right? And there's not a whole lot of people like what Travis Hunter and Charles Woodson and Dion has been able to do, right? So it's just a lot. But, stay tuned because I'm telling you, when we get close to the Heisman, then we're gonna go deep. We are going to do a deep dive into everything. I'm telling you, we're going to be doing college football episodes soon, so just stay tuned. Now, let's get into the real meats and potatoes of what everything is going on in the league, okay? Now, Kevin O'Connell, Vikings head coach, had something to say that I think definitely needs to be talked about and definitely needs to be discussed. So I think on the Rich Eisen show, if I'm not mistaken, he basically was asked about, his opinion on quarterbacks and, organizations and those different types of things. And I'm guessing this is all because of what's been going on with the whole Bryce Young situation, right? And so this is basically what he says, and I quote, "Organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations." Now, this is what I will say. He does have a point. He does have a point because when we look at it, a lot of times the quarterback does not have the control of going and dictating where they wanting to go, right? Now, the only person that was able to do that was Eli, right? And, he only did that because of the pull that he had and the influence that he had and the name that he comes from, right? When you think of Manning, that's power in the NFL, okay? And a lot of times when these quarterbacks, these really good quarterbacks get drafted, they are drafted into some very crappy situations. And when you are drafted into a crappy situation, that is the organization's fault. It is. It is the organization's fault because the organization is supposed to be able to surround the incoming quarterback with necessary weapons and tools in order for them to be successful, right? Because if you don't, guess what's going to happen? They are not going to last. They're not. And we're seeing that with this whole incident with Bryce Young. We're seeing it, okay? He came into a situation where he does not have a whole lot, to work with. He doesn't. And, we have seen countless time and time again of a lot of quarterbacks who they are put into crappy situations, with the expectation that they are supposed to turn this team into a playoff caliber team, and it doesn't happen. And why doesn't it not happen? Because they are only one person and they can't do everything. They can't. From Sam Darnold to Baker Mayfield to now Bryce Young and more. A lot of quarterbacks have gone through the struggles because they are put into crappy organizations. That's why a lot of times, a lot of quarterbacks will prefer to be in a stable organization like the Ravens, the 49ers, the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Steelers, for instance, because why? There is stability, right? There is a set level of hierarchy that is established and will not go away. It is strong. Their foundation is strong compared to a dysfunctional organization such as the Jaguars, the Browns, the Jets, the Cowboys. Sorry, Cowboys fans, and more, right? Those are the type of teams where it is very dysfunctional. You have a lot of decision making that is based off of emotions and likes instead of who is going to be able to win me games, who is going to be able to be the best candidate to take us to the next level, right? That's what it is. That's why you always see the same teams always being in the top 5 or top 10 within the NFL draft. Because why? A lot of times the organizations are disorganized. It is. And that's why you see teams like the Raiders who, for, the longest time, they've been trying to relive, their glory days, and they can't do it. Because why? They get in their own way. Same thing with the Jaguars. They get in their own way. Even the Browns, they get in their own way, and it bites them in the ass every single time. It does. Because when we look at this, right, Kevin O'Connell has basically revitalized Sam Darnold's career. Because when Sam Darnold was coming from the Jets, he was and then he got traded to the Panthers, he was basically a bust. He was a bust at that point. Sam Darnold's career was basically headed to being a career backup that is basically going to be competing to try to see if he can maybe get into a starting quarterback role. That's basically where he was. And for him to be in the situation where he is now, and he is thriving, and this is the best version of Sam Darnold that we have seen, that teams were looking to see when he was coming out of USC, it's amazing. It is amazing because why? The Vikings have won. They have a very stable organization. They have stability with their head coach, stability within their, there's just stability everywhere. And when there's stability everywhere, guess what? You can thrive off of that compared to a whole bunch of chaos where you're hearing a bunch of rumors and leaks and whatnot coming from the team. How in the world can you be able to live in that? You can't. It's basically like somebody who says, okay, I can live in filth and whatnot, and then they experience living in a nice clean house and whatnot. They're gonna lose their minds. Because why? They're like, wow, everything is just so organized, so nice, and this, that, and the other. All those different types of things. And that's why that is somewhat, and that was sort of something that I forgot to talk about when I was talking about in other previous episodes, that, the price of having those top 5 picks, because guess what? You get to choose whoever you want to choose, right? If you want to go after that D tackle that you like, you can do it. If you want to go after that corner that you like, you can do it. If you want to go after that running back, you can do it. But the price is this. If they don't work out, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Because either way you look at it, either way you slice it, dice it, roll it up, and send it out, the fact of the matter is the organization has the power to determine if we are going to tank a year or if we're going to try to compete to get into the playoffs. They have the power to do it. Not the quarterback. The organization does. Now, speaking of which of Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings have been doing their thing, okay? The Vikings have been coming off as, basically one of the best teams in the league, if we're being real here. And, originally Sunday, I wanted to watch the Steelers, the six times. Yeah, I know, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to watch them play, right? And the only team I was able to watch was the Vikings and Packers game. And at first I was like, man, this ain't going to be a good game. I'm glad I watched it. Sam Darnold lit it up. That defense lit it up. They were doing their thing. And, if we can be real here in this and just in this moment, I do think if Brian Flores continues on the pace that he is on right now, and if this defense goes down, this season as statistically, top 5 in every major category, Brian Flores will get another head coaching job. He will. Simply because that, if we're being real here, he is doing this with a first round rookie pass rusher in Dallas Turner. You have Harrison Phillips in the middle. You have Harrison Smith in the backfield. You have Gilly on one side. You have Brian Murphy Jr. I don't even know who the other cornerback is. You're doing this with a roster with a defense that a lot of people will consider, it's not the best, and they don't have an all-pro, they don't have Daniil Hunter, blah blah blah. They're doing their thing. Anytime you have Brock Purdy after game to come up to you and say, "Hey, you guys schemed us really well," that says a lot. That says a whole lot, and they've been doing their thing, and they will continue to do their thing. If we're being real here, when we look at these stats, right? Because I'm actually about to, better yet, let's just get into the stats. So Sam Darnold was 20 for 28, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 9.8 yards per attempt, and a 71.4 completion percentage, right? Also, here's a little junkie nugget for you. He is the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era to win and have 2 or more passing touchdowns in each of his first 4 starts for a team. It's a big accomplishment in my books. Aaron Jones, 22 attempts for 93 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, and three rushes for 10 plus yards, right? Compared to Jordan Love, who was 32 for 54, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, a 7.2 yards per attempt, a 59.3 completion percentage, which is really not that good. Jaden Reed, 8 targets for 7 receptions, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, and he averaged 19.9 receiving yards per reception. The Vikings were being dominant on both sides of the ball. They were not letting up. They were making just as many plays on the defense as they were on the offense. They were doing their thing. I would not be surprised if the Vikings gave Sam Darnold an extension. Because as of right now, he's played very well. He has. He has done his thing. Because when we look at this, leading into this, a lot of people the running notion was it was probably going to be between J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold who were going to compete for the starting, quarterback job. And then once, unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy got hurt and then Sam Darnold came in, everyone was like, man, Sam Darnold is going to do Sam Darnold things. He's going to stink it up, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. No. Sam Darnold is on a tear right now, Sam Darnold is doing his thing, chicken wing, But the thing is this, right? This all goes back to a conversation that we have had in other previous episodes. Where does Kevin O'Connell come from? I'm going to let you think about that. Time's up. He comes from the Sean McVay tree. Yes, yes. He comes from the Sean McVay tree, which again goes back to something that needs to be talked about. Teams are licking their chops to go after people who come from the Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan tree because it works. It has worked for the quarterback. Okay, when we look at this, when Kevin O'Connell got Kirk Cousins, right? Everyone was thinking, okay, Kirk Cousins, he's probably just going to be middle of the pack and whatnot. He was putting up numbers. He was putting up some serious numbers. Once Kevin O'Connell was the head coach for the Vikings, serious numbers. Okay, then you have that transition to where they even had Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs was doing his thing as well. Then once those two went away, now you have J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is doing his thing. I can only imagine what's going to happen when J.J. McCarthy gets healthy and he gets an opportunity to play. If we're being real here. I don't know what it is, but just their keen eye for the quarterback position has just been amazing. It's been amazing. Both of those systems have been amazing. They have done a phenomenal job. From Jimmy Garoppolo, from turning him into a bum to a really good quarterback, to Sam Darnold, from a bust to some people you probably would say an MVP candidate and more, right? They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. And it's only up from here. I would not be surprised if the Vikings are deep in the playoffs this year. Not to mention, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull off a crazy trade. I wouldn't. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying, folks, okay? Don't hate me. Hate the men. Well, don't hate the messenger, but don't hate me. I'm just addressing what I see with my eyes. Now, moving on to the Eagles, and well, actually, you know what? Do I really want to talk about them? Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Let's get them out the way, all right? Let's get them out the way. Nobody really cares about them, right? Eagles and the Buccaneers. What's the best way to put this? Saute, grilled, fried, pan-seared, put on an iron skillet with some butter, rosemary, thyme, and make sure you baste it very well and let it cool down, and then serve it, to the Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers cooked the Eagles, okay? Cooked them. I'm talking about Gordon Ramsay was able to pick it apart, season it up real good, saute it real good, do everything that he had to do, okay? Because, wow, this Eagles team is struggling. It is struggling. This is not good, folks. This is not good. Remember those reports that were coming out during the offseason that basically were saying Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts were not seeing eye to eye? It's starting to show more and more. The cracks are getting bigger within that Eagles locker room. And I would not be surprised by Thanksgiving. You're going to hear more and more and more stuff about what's going on in there. Because at this point, the ship is sinking. Jalen Hurts has looked like he has significantly, I can't even speak. It's definitely the coffee. Significantly regressed since Shane Steichen's departure. And, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for both parties. And the team will be willing to move off of Nick Sirianni to justify the extension that they gave for Jalen Hurts. They were going to be willing. They are willing to do that. Now, and this is a conversation that I had with Mookie before I recorded this. If I'm the Eagles, you have to make a move. You have to make a move. You have to do something in order to silence the outside noise, tamper things down, and to try to get everybody refocused on winning. You have to at this point, because if you don't, things are not going to look good for Thanksgiving. Okay? Somebody's going to lose their job come Thanksgiving. And it's going to be Nick Sirianni, because so far this offense has been stagnant. The offense has been struggling without their star players, and you wouldn't think it would be this bad. If you would have told me that the Eagles would be playing as bad as they are right now, I would have called you a liar. I would have. They are not playing well. They are not. The Buccaneers had their way. They were cleaning house left and right. But let's get into these stats, though. Stats going to tell us everything, okay? Well, not everything. I contradict myself a lot. I don't know. Let's just get into the stats, okay? Jalen Hurts, 18 for 30, 158 yards, one touchdown, 5.3 yards per attempt, a 60 completion percentage, right? 60% completion percentage. Saquon, the quad, 10 attempts for 84 yards, 8.4 yards per carry, all right? And let's look at Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield, okay? 30 for 47, 347 yards, two touchdowns, 7.4 yards per attempt, a 63.8 completion percentage, right? And then Mike Evans, the GOAT, 14 targets for 8 receptions, 94 yards, one touchdown, 11.8 receiving yards per reception, 34 yards after catch, okay? The Buccaneers generated, and this is a junkie nugget, by the way, the Buccaneers generated the highest pressure rate since 2021 against the Eagles at 48.6%. Guys, folks, this is not good. This is not good. Fly, Eagles, fly? No. Cook, Eagles, cook. This is not good. This is not good. This roster was built to win immediately, okay? Their window is closing, and it's closing a little bit faster. And the only way that they can slow things up is that they have to make a change. They have to make a pivot at this point. You have to. Because if you don't, you're going to hurt yourself more than actually help yourself, right? Because you have to win a Super Bowl to justify everything that they have done so far. They have to. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Belichick is their first option. Because with Bill, you're going to have structure. You're not going to have all this foolishness, and you know exactly what you're getting with Bill, right? Because again, Nick Sirianni, you're talking about somebody who relies too much on his emotions, who wears his emotions on his sleeve, who is just emotionally driven with a lot of the things that he do, and you don't need that in the most dire situations. You need a coach who is focused on winning, who is focused on, okay, it's past the 2-minute warning. We have 2 timeouts. We're trying to prevent them from scoring, or we're trying to score real quick. Okay, we need to do this, and this. We don't need a coach who is, jarring with players on the sideline, or, jarring with, the refs and whatnot. You don't need that. You need stability. And right now, Nick Sirianni is not doing that. That relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, that it's going to a divorce. Okay? Double Christmas for the kids. Double Christmas for the kids. Now, moving on to the other team that needs to be talked about. Okay, so Jaguars and Texans. Jaguars have been ass. Okay, they have been trash. They have been horrible. They have been extinct from a W. Okay, extinct from a W. It is horrible. Okay, now when we look at this, Trevor Lawrence, 18 for 33, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per attempt, and a 54.5 completion percentage. Tank Bigsby, 7 attempts for 90 yards, 12.9 yards per carry, 2 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. Brian Thomas, 9 targets for 6 receptions, 86 yards, 1 touchdown, 14.3 receiving yards per reception. The last time the Jaguars won was November 26, 2023 against who? The Texans. Weird. Coincidence? I think not. Okay? Now, when we look at CJ Stroud, 27 for 40, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8.6 yards per attempt, 67.5 completion percentage, right? Cam Akers, 13 attempts for 53 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, and 1 rush of 10 plus yards or more. Nico Collins, 15 targets for 12 receptions, yards, 1 touchdown, 12.6 receiving yards per reception, and 63 yards after the catch. Now, when we look at all of these stats and whatnot, Trevor Lawrence has just been trash. He has not done anything. Since getting that deal, where is he? Where is he? What has he been doing? This is absolutely atrocious that we have seen from Trevor Lawrence. And granted, I understand that, they lost Calvin Ridley and all those. I get all of that, but this is just absolutely horrible. Okay, they are the only team in the league right now that does not have a W. Does not have a W. Think about that. That does not have a W. The Panthers have a W before the Jaguars, and the Panthers don't even have a better offense than the. Oh my God, this is just horrible. This is just horrible. And then when you have Doug Peterson, who comes out and he makes the stupid claims and whatnot, it's just stupid. It really is. This better yet, I'm gonna read the quote what he said. Okay, this is what he said, and I quote: "As coaches, we can't go out there and make the plays, right? It's a two-way street. So you guys can sit here and point the finger all you want, and it's fine. Fine. Point it right at me. I can take it, okay? I can take it. So whatever you want to ask me, say whatever. I'm sorry, but you can't continue to point the finger at other people and then blame this on the players and whatnot. Because guess what? You have to give them the play. You have to give them the play. They don't go out there and just do willy-nilly. No, you give them the play. You're the head coach. You are in control of when they're winning and when they're losing. And, if I'm Doug Peterson, my seat is hot. It's starting to get hot. It's starting to get hot. And, this is a situation where, at some point, this relationship as well is probably going to end as well. I think it's reached its ceiling, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere farther because anytime you have a coach that is not being accountable for the loss and just the lackluster performance that the entire team has been putting out, that says a lot about you. It does. And it's just a nasty situation. With the amount of talent they have on that team, it's a nasty situation. And anytime you say something like that, things start to happen in that locker room. People start talking. And when people start talking, it's not going to be good. It is not going to be good at all. But I mean, I could part of me wants to feel bad for them, but at the same time it's like, anytime you try to put blame on other players and make it seem like, oh, it's their fault that we're not winning, it's their fault with this, it's their fault with that. No, because guess what? You have the power to dictate, okay, we're going to do this play or we're going to do that play. Okay, now we're scrap that. We're going to do this. We're going to run this. You have the power to do all those different types of things. You're the head coach. So why don't you do head coaching things? Wouldn't be the Steelers. It would not be the Steelers, I'll tell you that. Now, moving on to something that I probably have not talked about, but probably does need to be talked about though. It is the Ravens. The Ravens are doing Raven things. Okay, they're back to the winning and being dominant and whatnot. And this was not in my notes, but I think it does need to be talked about and it does need to be addressed. The Ravens put on a game. Good God, they put on a game. They were dominant. Derrick Henry looked like the Derrick Henry of old, okay? Lamar Jackson, still doing his thing. He is that guy. You understand me? He is that guy. And, this is the Ravens team that people were expecting to see, those first 3 weeks of the season. Now, granted, I get it, it's the first 3 weeks of the season, still going through the, the bumps and bruises, the ups and downs of everything. I get all of that. I do. And all those games were very close games, and they were all winnable games. And, things happen, referees getting in the way and whatnot, toes and whatnot. But hey, that's what happens. But, they're on a roll. They're on a roll. And the most dangerous version of the Ravens is when they're on a roll. When that run game is starting to get hot, when that passing game is starting to get hotter, and then that defense is doing its thing, oh my God, you got yourselves a problem, okay? Oh, and by the way, Mook, I'm going to continue to say it. I was right. Because I have a friend named Mook Meister who, when when the news dropped that the Ravens were signing Kyle Van Noy, oh my God, he was losing it. He was losing his mind. He was like, oh man, this is a horrible signing. I'm like, bro, you gotta relax, man. This is gonna just watch. Now he can't say nothing wrong about Kyle Van Noy. Hey man, I'm that guy. I'm him. I'm him. I'm Himothy, Himitron, Hemi. That's who I am. That's who I am. But, this is somewhat of a breaking. Well, is it breaking news? Is it not breaking news? I don't know. But we do need to talk about it, though, before I end this episode, though. Davante Adams is getting shopped. Yeah. You heard it first. You heard it here first. That's right, folks. He is getting shopped. Right now, there are league sources that are reporting that the Raiders are shopping Davante Adams around. Now, this is what I will say. To anybody that is trading for Davante Adams, I think you have to be a little bit wary, but at the same time open about it, because he's still an elite receiver. But I think it's the financial part that is very daunting. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at the style of his contract, it's backloaded. And the problem with backloaded contracts is, even if you do a restructure, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that, you'll still be able to have the freedom to be able to do, to move around and have the flexibility. It doesn't. And a lot of times it actually puts you in a worse situation. Even if you was to do a restructure of Davante Adams' contract, it's still a lot that you have to take on. It's still a lot. Now, granted, the Raiders can't ask for, 2 first-round picks or a first and a second. No. You can get Davante Adams for a day 3 pick. You can get them for probably maybe a conditional 4th that can maybe turn into a 3rd at this point in his career. You really could. Now, do I think teams are going to be interested? Yes. I think teams like the Steelers, the Chiefs, and others will be interested. But I think the problem with all of this is a lot of the teams that are interested in him are, guess what? They're still in the AFC. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of teams on the NFC that really need someone like a Davante Adams. It's more of the AFC. Those are the teams that have been depleted and really need a receiver. So it's like, what do? Are you going to send him to the Jets, let him reunite with Aaron Rodgers? Are you going to send him to the Steelers? Are you going to send him to the Ravens? You damn sure are not going to send him to the Chiefs, because that's your division rival. You're going to see him twice. You don't want to do that, right? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Omar, pick up the phone. Do something. I don't know. But I'm going to end it here, okay, because that's probably going to be another episode that we're going to have to talk about and go more deep into. And yeah, for sure. For sure. If you guys like what you guys are listening to, please leave a 5-star review. Download the episodes, please. I need those numbers. Those junky numbers, so I can be able to give you guys more junky content, okay? Please leave a 5-star review or a comment on anywhere that you guys listen to and get your daily football junkies fix. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere that you guys can listen to podcasts on, as well as RSS feed as well. Shout out to RSS feed. To my YouTube people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod, okay? Like, share, subscribe, turn that notification bell on, leave a comment down below. We have our link tree is on there. You click on that link tree, it will take you to any and everywhere else that is Football Junkies related, okay? To the TikTok, to the Instagram, of course, to the YouTube, and as well as the TikTok as well. No, wait a minute, did I already say TikTok? I said TikTok twice. I don't know. I'm bugging out. I'm super excited, because I've been waiting to talk. We have so much we have to talk about this week. Oh my God, it is so ridiculous, and I'm so excited to talk about it. I can't tell you guys, but we have a lot to talk about. Now, Instagram, football_junkies pod. Again, that is football_junkies pod. Junkies pod is not what? It is together, not spaced. Remember that. It is together, not spaced. Okay. Now, when we look at the TikTok as well, football_junkies pod. Again, football_junkies pod. I told you guys I was going to put out more clips. We're going to put out more clips. more sound bites just for you guys to be able to get just your little a mini football junkie fix, okay? So that you can be able to get access to the big football junkies fix, right? You know it. We love it. You love it. Everybody loves it, right? So as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. I might just put out another episode this week. I think I probably am, because guess what? The Cowboys and Steelers play Sunday night. Woo! I know. If we lose, there probably won't be an episode for like a good 2 weeks, because I'll be crying and filling up my bathtub with tears. So hopefully that does not happen. But I'm rambling now. So as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Peace and love. I am out of here.